When it comes down to it, more than any other genre, some RPGs are more conducive to handhelds. Pokemon works great as a portable game, but when the console versions tried to emulate that same gameplay, they just weren't as fun. It felt like things were kind of dragging along. The same thing happened for me in Final Fantasy Tactics. I tried it a long time ago, and although I knew it was a great game, I didn't want to sit down in front of a TV screen and play long-ass battles. I know, the game's on the PSP, I have it, so I'll try it another day, but today's title doesn't get as much credit as this one. That game is Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I was thinking about doing a remote RPG about it, but there's something strange about trying to classify a title under one of the most prolific RPG series as not well known. And the game did sell relatively well, so it gets a normal review. Anywho, Final Fantasy Tactics was released by Square Enix in the early 2000s on the Game Boy Advance, and has awesome, deep gameplay, a solid story with relatable and interesting characters, a very long playtime with a lot of replay value, all in your pocket for on-the-go goodness. First, let's start with the story. Saint Ivalice, where the new student named Marsh has just moved in. Befriending the tomboy Ritz Crakalaka, or Ritz in normal people speak, along with the shy and often bullied Mute, the group happen upon a mysterious book. I know, kids willingly reading books, this has to be fiction. Then, Mute makes an offhanded comment about wishing that his world was like a Final Fantasy game, and lo and behold, overnight, it does just that thanks to the power of the book. Wait, so the book changes the world to whatever he'd want it to be? Ugh, I think a teenage boy would wish more for something like this. The next morning, Marsh wakes up in this incredibly strange world filled with monsters, magic, and probably a racial stereotype. It's up to Marsh to survive in this insane world, find all of his friends, and then save them from this dangerous world of magical monsters and take them home. That is, if they actually do want to go home. The story of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance was actually a pretty big draw for me. Sure, the action and dialogue are kind of childish, but I think the overall themes about escapism, companionship, and really learning to grow up and mature gives this game a surprising level of maturity that speaks to a lot of different age groups. Whether it's the level-headed Marsh, Mute's vicious struggle with his identity, or Ritz learning to accept her own flaws, you can learn something from them as a gamer or a young adult. There's something anyone could take away from this experience. I shit you not, I wrote A+ English papers in high school by applying the themes of escapism that I learned from this game, so I had to have learned something. On a more objective scale, it's not a bad story, being mostly driven by the characters, and rightly so. It's more about the personal development of each person, rather than an overarching save-the-world cliché plot. The point is, the story is unique, strong, and memorable, and propels the player to play along with this quest. Even aside from the story and characters, another interesting feature about the game is the level of personalization it gives you. See, you can choose the name of the protagonist. He doesn't have to be Marsh or whatever, I don't know, it sounds French. Who wants to be a French guy in a tactics game? You just surrender all the time. You get to start your own clan, you get to choose the name of your clan, and you can choose to either allow or disallow random people from getting into your group. Unlike other games, like Luminous Arc, the game doesn't really care what characters you use. It's almost always your choice in battles. You can choose your own character's class, how you want to fight, how you want your friends to fight. You can be a friggin' ninja, a paladin, a ninjaladin, like anything. It really pulls you into this world. The gameplay mostly consists of going around the world, fighting clans for turf, collecting capital for your group, completing tasks to boost your reputation, and you really feel like you're part of Ivalice and its universe, just like these characters. I get a little too into it. I'm pretending I'm like the Scarface of Ivalice. It's all mine, bitches! And I haven't even talked about the great battle system yet. Seriously, all the rest of this stuff is just icing on the cake, but the battle system is the delicious, sugary bit. This cake metaphor is dead. Whether it's story-driven battles or just random ones, you and your clan often confront other groups, and these fights pretty much do everything right. There's magic and attacks that make you consider range, damage, accuracy, positioning, terrain, all that good tactical stuff. The real difference maker from other tactics games is the amount of micromanagement you have to control over, including the classes of your clan members, what skills they master, what weapons they use to get those skills, etc. There are just so many classes, attacks, options, just way to go about your work. And this all means that you'll never play the game the same way twice. And you really have to get this system down because the game isn't particularly easy, but not ball-breakingly hard like the original PS1 version is, at least from what I've heard, because Final Fantasy Tactics has a steady curve. In battles, you can generally find some basic strategy to beat everybody, but even then, the game often forces you to learn to adapt to random situations through the use of laws. Laws are random bullshit that force you not to use certain weapons or spells or something, and rewards you with points towards a special attack if you obey the laws. Where's Phoenix Wright when you need him? Although these laws are arbitrary and sometimes pretty unfair, it's just interesting to see how they force the player to keep an extra eye out for another level of strategy, in how maybe you can force your enemy to break the law, or perhaps by breaking the law in order to win the battle. It's all up to you. The only thing is that the penalties aren't too strict. These judges are hard to take seriously sometimes.
I never broke the law! I am the law! You betray the law!
There's other really cool little things that really add on to the whole experience of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, like how the bodies of your comrades hang around and you have to use some strategy in reviving them because you have to get close to the dead body. That's pretty cool. Or how about the special attacks the game has you build up from taking out enemies? Those are so satisfying. Or the special emphasis the game places on accuracy, which you don't see in a lot of other tactics games. It all works in a really unique and fun way. In terms of battles overall, it's really hard to find anything to criticize, unless I nitpick. It's one of the best tactical role-playing games out there, and rightfully so because of what it was based off of. As I said, the handheld nature of the game suits these longer battles so you can put it down any time and not worried about sitting through a 45-minute battle. With over 300 missions and all this awesome customization, you can easily drop 50 hours into one playthrough, as you want to keep going long after the story has already taken its course. If I had to criticize anything about the overall gameplay, it would be the annoyance of keeping clan territory, or being stuck with the same missions later in the game, and the lack of any real sense of exploration. It feels like kind of a small game because you only have the battle screens, the rather simple overworld, but that's all it really needs, I suppose. The graphics in the game are pretty damn good for the Game Boy Advance. The character models show a nice level of detail, the environments are lush, and you get that classical Final Fantasy design that just makes it a distinct entry in the series that's still true to its roots. The battle animations were stellar, as it just feels good when you slice something or take out a group with magic. The music was also very good, though not a lot of the songs you might find iPod worthy. The sound effects were a little static, but again, they do their job just fine. In conclusion, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance deserves to be talked about a lot more than it is. Although some may say that it's overshadowed by its older brother, it's still an awesome game in its own right. The characters and story, though rather childish, are still strong and they have relatable messages. I'd say that was the biggest surprise from this game. But the gameplay is no surprise, it's just as good as I remember it, matching the console predecessor while adding its own flair, and proving again that Final Fantasy Tactics just gets the RPG gameplay right. This game is an easy recommendation to any tactics junkie if they haven't checked it out already, but especially recommended to anyone looking to break into the genre. It's pretty cheap and easy to find today, and it might just be my favorite game of the genre. Highly recommended as a classic and must play in my opinion. Thanks for watching.